Challenge trials like this are considered controversial. Results can be faster, but the stakes are high. Here in California, Kaiser Permanente taking part in a vaccine trial, and we wanted to find out how their participation works. We now welcome Dr. Nicola Klein, director of the Kaiser Permanente Vaccine Study Center and the principal investigator for the trial in Northern California. Dr. Klein, thank you so much for your time today. We sure appreciate it. Please, let's start off. If you could explain how this trial will work. We understand this is part of the Pfizer BioNTech trial. Is that correct?
That is correct. And so this is what's known as a phase 3 trial, which is also considered a late phase vaccine clinical trial. And the idea is to enroll patients to either receive the active vaccine or a placebo, and it's half and half will receive the vaccine or the placebo. And they receive 2 doses, and then we follow them for 2 years, which includes up to 5 blood draws.
How many patients are involved? We understand patients from California are participating in this, and this is part of a study that's taking place. Is it a worldwide study or just in the United States?
This is a global study, and they're aiming to enroll 30,000 individuals.
So how many from California are taking part, and who specifically? Is there a certain age group or particular patients that are participating in this?
Right. So we're here in Northern California. We're aiming to enroll 400 individuals across the 3 Kaiser Permanente sites along the West Coast, including California and up to Oregon. We're anticipating enrolling 1,400 individuals, but 400 here in Northern California.
If you could explain a little bit more about how this vaccine works in the body. I know there are different types of vaccines that are being tested around the world. Some react differently. How this particular vaccine is expected to or hope to work in the body to protect against COVID.
Right. So this is a new technology. It's called an mRNA vaccine. And what it works is it's a nucleic acid that's actually injected into recipients, and the recipient's own cell takes up the nucleic acid and produces the protein from the virus, from the coronavirus. And then so that protein from the cell is made by the recipient's own cells is then expressed on the outside of the cell and triggers an immune response in the participant's body.
So now you explained, just a moment ago that this is a 2-year trial. So obviously the whole world is waiting for results of all of these vaccine trials to find out, what's going to be the golden ticket to give some relief for this pandemic. So when will you start noticing results? Obviously, you're going to be monitoring these patients who are participating. And at what point during this phase 3 can researchers or scientists say, we think this is going to be the one and we can start administering this to people? At what point in this phase 3 will that happen?
Right. So just to clarify, so that we follow people who enroll in the study for 2 years, but the vaccines are given on the day they enroll and then again 21 days later. So the first 2 doses are given within the first 3 weeks of the trial. And then we follow them for 2 years, both for safety as well as also to see if they develop infection and COVID disease. In terms of when we can see results, the studies are planned to have what's called interim analysis or stopping points at which when there's a certain number of cases have occurred, then an interim analysis will look to see if there's enough of the people who who had disease who did not get vaccinated when you compare to the rate amongst those individuals who did receive vaccine. But those are interim, and those are not guaranteed to happen for any amount of time. It depends on when the cases occur, and it can take a while to accumulate those cases.
What are your thoughts about, we're starting to hear this term challenge trials. What are your thoughts about that, where patients or participants in these studies maybe receive a vaccine and then intentionally become exposed to a virus? Is that something that will take place here, or will the participants in this study just naturally go about their business and then do you test them periodically to see, or how does that process work?
So just to be clear, this study is not what's called the challenge study, which is what you're describing when people are deliberately given the virus after receiving a vaccine. That is not what this is. This is when people to see if they get infected just from, like you said, keep living their life, living in the community, going to their jobs, wherever they may get exposed to the virus. And then we follow them because we very closely monitor them, and then whether they have any symptoms consistent with COVID disease, and they get tested and they're followed very closely. And that's part of what is happening over the 2 years after they get vaccinated.
So I know this is the big question that everyone has. In your experience and in your expertise, when do you feel that a vaccine will be available for the mainstream public? Is this something that we can expect next year, or what are your thoughts about the timeline for a vaccine that can be administered to the mainstream America or just around the world?
Well, I wish I had the crystal ball to be able to answer that question with certainty, but I think completing all these trials do take time, and we do need to see how long it will take to get the cases to see if the vaccines even work. And of course, we want to monitor for safety as much as possible. I think it will take quite a few months, and I think next year is probably I think it's a possibility. I don't know. I can't say when, but I think it is a possibility next year.
Well, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of hope. Our thanks to Dr. Nicola Klein, Director of the Kaiser Permanente Vaccine Study Center and Principal Investigator for the trial in Northern California. We sure appreciate your time. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.